On today's episode, today is launch day. My new book, Breathing Oxygen, How Positive Leadership Gives Life to Winning Cultures, is released into the world today. Today's podcast episode, I want to thank everyone and share love to everybody who supported me, but also share some hopes with you about what I hope this book does and invite other people for your support as my new book, Breathing Oxygen, How Positive Leadership Gives Life to Winning Cultures, is released into the world today. Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world.
Stay tuned at the end of the episode for a special word from Jason about Breathing Oxygen, his new book.
Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today, I'm so excited that you are here and excited to be sharing. You can hear it in my voice, excitement to talk about the launch of my new book coming up here in just a few minutes that actually releases today, this very day. But before we do that, just welcome to everybody who's back to the podcast. If you are new to the podcast, so glad you're here. If you are an old listener, meaning you're one of our OGs, welcome back. So glad this continues to contribute to you and add value to your life and your work. This continues to spread in really exciting ways. So glad everybody is here. My commitment to you is that this is always a place where you can step back, to be filled with some good thoughts, to think, to reflect, and hopefully have some messages that engage your mind and heart and help you be the best in your life and your work and really set the temperature and create the kind of culture that you're hoping with the people around you. I'm more convinced of this than ever that, again, authentic and genuine leadership that cares for people and then creates a meaningful, compelling culture with the people around them is as needed today in the world as ever. So thanks to everybody for being a part of today's conversation. If before we dive into today's topic, if you will do me the quick favor, rate the podcast 5-star. Again, rate the big podcast, the full podcast. Just if you're willing to do that, 5 stars. You can do individual episodes, of course, too, but rate the podcast as a whole. And if you're willing to leave a positive review, that's the way that this thing spreads. So thanks to everybody that does that. And then also anybody that's willing to share it with their network or on social media. Or if there's, episodes that resonate with you, share it with people and invite others to be a part of this conversation. That's really, really important, and I appreciate everybody that does that. Today is launch day. It's amazing to say that out loud, but today is launch day. My new book, Breathing Oxygen, How Positive Leadership Gives Life to Winning Cultures, is officially released today. It has been quite a journey to get this to this point, and I appreciate more than you know the love, the support, the amazing feedback that I've received to this point, and that I hope continues as more and more people get the book and are a part of this. So really excited. So let me just share this. So on today's podcast episode, I want to thank everyone and share love to everybody who supported me, but also share some hopes with you about what I hope this book does and invite other people for your support as my new book, Breathing Oxygen, How Positive Leadership Gives Life to Winning Cultures, is released into the world today. I'm excited about sharing these messages with the world and truly appreciate the help of all who help spread it. So, before we dive into that, let's take a quick break, pause for a second, and we'll be right back. If you haven't done so already, we hope you'll visit Amazon or Amplify or jasonvbarger.com to check out Breathing Oxygen, my new book that is all about breathing good oxygen into ourselves and mindsets that fuel ourselves and the teams and the organizations around us. Positive, healthy thinking is as essential to great leadership and building a winning culture as the air we breathe. Leading yourself and a team of people has never been more complicated than it is today. As a leader, every move you make is either breathing life into your organization or slowly killing it. The atmosphere can easily turn toxic with negativity, blame, and doubt poisoning the culture. Just like every being on the planet needs good air to breathe, every organization needs leadership that breathes life into its people to sustain the energy required to complete its mission. Breathing Oxygen focuses on 6 key leadership mindsets that breathe life into any team: clarity, inclusivity, mental agility, grit, rest, and ownership. Join us. Join the launch. Read and share Breathing Oxygen. Launching anything new in the world today, any product, service, anything new requires courage and to step out there. And then it also, more importantly, it requires other people. So thanks to everyone who is willing to help and to kind of amplify these messages and help with this launch. That's what, no matter how good something might be, hopefully you think this is good, but no matter anything that's created in the world, no matter how good it is, it requires other people to share and tell people about it and help it spread, or else it'll just be hidden in a corner. So thanks to everybody who does that. So I've got 3 messages for you today. The first message, as I celebrate the launch of this, my latest book, Breathing Oxygen, today is released officially in the world and all the distribution channels. The first message I want to just say is thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful for my wife, Amy, for my family, my kids, friends in my life, anyone who has supported me along the journey to write this. Writing and launching anything in the world, it can be challenging and takes courage and can play with your own mind and psyche of trying to get yourself ready to do that and wanting to communicate something in a good way. But it requires the support of other people. So thank you. I'll say that this book is dedicated to every person along my path who has breathed oxygen into me. I'm grateful for the family, the friends, strangers, mentors. I've been so lucky to have some great mentors, colleagues, the teams and organizations that I'm lucky to support and serve, and also inspiring leaders along the way or along my path who have, whether they knew it or not, they have fueled me. Their words, their spirit, commitment and action expanded my lungs and sustained my journey. So I'm saying thank you to all those people. Some of you know who you are. Some of you may not know who you are, but you've helped shape my mindset, which has impacted my actions. I'm especially grateful for, of course, my wife Amy and our children who breathe oxygen into me daily. And may we all continue to expand our awareness, our capacity, our connection, and action in the world. I'm grateful for the good air that I've been lucky to breathe in my life, from my family, from my friends, and certainly for everybody out there. So that's who this book is dedicated to, and I wanted to share that. And my first message today is just thank you to everyone out there. My second message is what I hope for this book. You don't write a book just to write a book, or at least I don't. I don't write a book just to hope that it sells, although, again, hopefully it's sustainable that way, that it will sell. I don't write a book just because you want to be able to say that you wrote a book. I really don't care about that. You don't write a book just to have it. Or so it sits on a shelf somewhere. My hope with this is I'll share a couple of hopes with you about this book and why I wrote it. I wrote it because I needed it as much as I'm guessing others do too. I needed to breathe in good oxygen in my own life and think about the mindsets that I'm giving my mind to each day and how that leads to outcomes and actions that actually make a difference in my life and others. I know that there are oxygen givers and oxygen takers, and there's things that kind of give me oxygen, and then there's things that kind of take away my oxygen. And so it's up to me to be more aware of those things. I needed to be more aware of what I was giving my oxygen to and what was taking my oxygen. And my hope is that this book, and certainly the 6 mindsets that I talk about in the book, give people some great oxygen that helps them be more aware and better humans, better spouses, better parents, better friends. And certainly a lot of the book is centered around how do we breathe this oxygen into the people that we're leading on our teams and throughout the cultures in our organizations, our companies, those people that we are around. So however you're coming to this book, I think you'll see that you'll be able to make connections to it from all of those different perspectives. I've seen firsthand how these messages and the proactive engagement that teams and leaders and organizations have done, how that breathes life into others and throughout our teams and throughout our organizations. And so my hope is that it also helps breathe great energy and oxygen into many cultures and companies that are trying to do better than they ever have in caring for people and being a place that others want to be a part of. So in short, I want this book to impact people and cultures and teams. And that's the way that it's written, and that's what my hope and expectation is for it. And I continue to be excited about being a conduit of that spirit and be somebody who can connect and hopefully engage the minds and hearts of people along the way. I'm so thankful and grateful and frankly in awe and fortunate to have received so many great endorsements and testimonials about the book so far, people that have had advanced copies of the book. Last episode, I read some quick ones from, John Gordon, 12-time best-selling author, Howard Behar, the former president of Starbucks, Coley O'Brien, the chief people officer from Wendy's, Tamara Miles, researcher and author, Jenny Britton, founder of Jenny's Ice Creams, LaShondra Baker and Kevin Clayton that are in the DEI space, Shane Battier. I could go on and on and on. Many, many more people that have given their voice and support to this book. And so you can go back and listen to last week's episode if you want to hear some of those, but also just reach out and engage with this book, and I think you'll see some of that. Some requests that I would share of you during launch week, if you still are thinking about this book or want to be a part of a successful launch, you want to help this launch, then 3 simple requests, again, I'd give to you is 1, order the book. Go to Amazon or Amplify or jasonvbarger.com or anywhere you find books. Type it in and say, I want this book, and order it. And then don't just order it, but read it. I keep inviting us as I don't want just orders. I want people to engage with the content. And you'll see that the style of the book is it's a very open, accessible, inviting book to read, hopefully. So I think you'll see what I mean when I say that. So I want you to order it and also read it. And the second thing I'm inviting you to do is to share it. If and only if this resonates with you and adds value to your life, or you see these messages as redeeming value to other people in the world, then gift copies to people. Share it on social media, throughout your networks, whatever that may be. Share it with other people. My books aren't meant to stay on a shelf. And lastly, the third thing is to leave reviews, ratings and reviews. We live in a world where ratings and reviews are so important. I hate it, whether that I have to say this all the time, but it is true that that's the way people find the books. That's the way they push up and they amplify the messages so other people who don't know of this book can find it. So please leave 5-star ratings and positive reviews on Amazon or other platforms, and that's just the way that it works. So thank you to everybody who takes the time to leave a positive rating and review on different platforms. If you have other ideas or ways you think you're starting today and the next few weeks of helping this, or months ahead to help this be a successful launch, and you're so fired up to help us, then email us, info at jasonvbarger.com, and tell us what are your ideas to help this launch, to amplify these messages further in the world. We're all ears. Some of our best ideas have come from many of you. So thank you. I will leave you with just a couple of questions to ask you this week as we think about this. And again, I'm inviting you to be a part of the launch, is to reflect on who has breathed good oxygen to you in your life and your work. In what ways could you help breathe oxygen into other people in your life and work? And then, will you engage? How will you share this? How will you be a part of it, and how will you share it with other people around you? Again, breathing oxygen is a voluntary thing that we do to intentionally breathe good air into ourselves, and also then it becomes just an involuntary way that we just breathe. And so it starts with calibrating our own thermostat for what is that culture and what is that temperature we want to set. And then we've got to continue to show up and breathe oxygen into it to keep the culture going and fuel it with the mindsets that we're talking about. So I hope you'll continue to keep tuning into the podcast. I hope you'll continue to be an active listener and engaged in this content. And thank you to everybody who helps this be a successful launch. Remember, the best leaders, teams, and cultures on the planet stimulate progress by recalibrating their thermostats together and then breathe oxygen into themselves and others. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat. I wrote Breathing Oxygen because I needed to breathe in good oxygen in my own life, and what I'm finding is that other people needed it too. There continues to be high levels of uncertainty and change and division and angst and so much that seems out of our control. It's challenging for individuals and teams and organizations to navigate their way forward, and it's easy to get sucked into negative and toxic mindsets and actions. We all know there are oxygen givers and oxygen takers in every room and in every organization on the planet. And so leaders and teams need to be deliberate about what is the air that they breathe and the mindsets that they feed. When we breathe in good, healthy mindsets, our performance expands. And when we breathe in toxic and negative mindsets of gossip and blame, our performance deflates. Breathing Oxygen focuses on 6 key mindsets. Mindsets of clarity, of inclusivity, mental agility, grit, rest, and ownership and positive accountability. Positive leadership is about being honest and transparent about the challenges we're facing and still choosing to be optimistic and believing that we can create a better future. Winning cultures doesn't just mean winning the contest or becoming best in class or the best at whatever it is that you do, although I hope and we aim for that too. A winning culture is one that is authentic, where people are aligned around creating a compelling culture together that also produces results. Research and data continues to tell us that people want to be a part of a more meaningful culture, that they want to be a part of something greater than self, that they want to contribute, they want to develop, and they want to share in the creation of a compelling culture. But as I talk about in my book, Thermostat Cultures, it won't just happen magically on its own. We have to lead the change that we want and intentionally set the temperature at all levels of the company, and then breathe oxygen into it to keep it going. We all know that culture shaping never stops. We just have to continuously breathe good oxygen.